in Bitcoin, we're right at this first trouble area where we thought we would have an issue with the rally from these lows. And if we reverse here, that there is the potential that we still retest the low and make a marginal low and that 3,600 level. The reason we've got all this resistance here potentially is this is where we've got an ABC equal measured move off the lows. If we look at it on the 4-hour, you can see it clearly, A, B, C. We've got this, we've got these previous lows here from the end of November, beginning of December, sort of a funky double bottom swing failure pattern level. And so potentially around 6,580, there's a little bit of trouble. If we put fibs on, let's see if there's any more confluence. If we put fibs on from these highs, sort of around this 38.2. If we go all the way up, I'm a little bit more confident, because if we go all the way up, I'd like to see us, the most important thing for me is being above this 236 fib, which we are. And so, yes, there is a lot of resistance here, but for me, this 62.17 should be some support. So, at least on the daily close, we can have a look at it underneath. So I'm hoping for a really strong push through this resistance level. And then when we get above it, we can look for a pullback to buy against it. If we do stall here, I wouldn't want to see us much below these hourly moving averages, and much really below sort of 5,750. I think below there, that would be confirm the reversal, and then we would set up a retest of the lows. So if you haven't got any Bitcoin yet and you're looking at this going, oh, how did I not have any Bitcoin? How are you going to get some? I really do think that this daily 20 moving average, which is really important, will give us a bit of a pullback. Let's make it a bit thicker so we can see where it is. There we go. The daily 20 moving average is a little bit higher, around 6,900. We will either get rejected and come there and come back and retest this 236 fib level at 6,200, or we will get above it and pull back and find support. I don't know which yet. Obviously, it would be much nicer if we push above it and find support. But this is where, around here is where we should expect our first pullback. You know, and then our first target is up here at 8,800. Just being above this blue 236 fib is the best, from the highs is the best signal of all that we have more upside to come. So looking very good for a bigger bounce in Bitcoin, and hopefully a bit of a short squeeze. You know, when we got down here and we got down to 4,000, people just got too negative. And this very, very far, you know, I feel like we should have done a really clear 5 waves, but this this sharp drop, you know, when we dropped 30% in an hour, this felt like capitulation, really. So whenever you see that, then you're always kind of looking for a pattern. It's taken a few days for us to stabilize, and this is what I mean. Sometimes when you have a lot of momentum to the downside, sometimes you just have to stop going down before you can go up again, and this is a really good example of that. So what was the best indicator of when we were ready to rally again? These Heikin Ashi candles, this little green Heikin Ashi, that was the sign. And so that was pretty cool. Okay, let's move on. Now, the most important thing is there were a few things that we were looking at for reversals, weren't we, yesterday? In the dollar Canadian, for a couple of days now, we've been looking for a reversal at this 786 fib level. Here on the hourly, we said if we broke the previous swing low and this double top, we would trigger it, and it's triggered it. It triggered it without me overnight. You lucky Asian traders, you got this entry. So now for the rest of us, especially people in Canada, they have to wait for the bounce to sell it. And that would be now that we're underneath here. This would mean a bounce back towards these moving averages, and then I expect dollar Canadian to continue lower. We've got the bearish reversal we were looking for in terms of daily candlesticks. Look at this 3-day candlestick pattern. This is properly something, and it's cratering. When you have a 3-day candlestick pattern like this, so you have a strong up candle, a little doji, all you need for this to be a reversal is more than 50% of the big green candle. If that's all we have to close, and that's a 3-day reversal, and then you can expect it all the way back to the 20 moving average. So our first target is down here at 138. We're at 148. We're seeing huge volatility in FX that we haven't seen for a while. The pound that overshot this, big level that I was looking at. If we look at it on a weekly, it's not going to look like an overshoot. But this was this big 886 fib level at 117.33. If we were going to stay underneath it, we would have found resistance there. We did for a day, but now we've got the same 3-day reversal pattern that we've got in the dollar Canadian. In fact, this is if you look up a morning star or evening star pattern, this is exactly what it looks like. So a bullish reversal on the daily in the pound would be more than 50% of this red open close. And we're there already, I think. I'm pretty sure we are. 118.21 and we're trading 118.61. So we've got a big bullish reversal going on in the pound as well. Finally, easing, and the easing is coming from stocks rallying, everybody breathing a bit. It's not so risky. They've realized that central banks pretty much and governments will pretty much do anything to stop this becoming a depression. And so maybe everything is priced in. On a 4-hour, this looks like a swing failure pattern from yesterday. So it doesn't mean that the low is in for the pound, but it does mean that we should see quite a significant bounce here. If this was a 1 and a messy 2 and then a 3, at least 38.2 of this. So we've got a bit further to go, but I would definitely look for back towards the 20 moving averages. I think we've got, in all of these markets, we just went a little bit too far. Doesn't it mean that things aren't really bad? No, things are really bad. We really do have a nasty virus, but the world isn't ending quite yet. So if we've got reversals in the major currencies, we should see, as I think I spoke about it before, the euro was like a secondary safe haven. So the euro didn't fall the way other currencies did. And so the reversal in the euro isn't going to be the same. If the Canadian's doing that, the first thing I would look at next is oil. Because if the Canadian's doing that, it's quite possible that we've got a bit of a squeezy move going on in oil and potentially a bit of a bounce. I've got gasoline here, that's no good. Let's look here at oil. And oil is looking quite positive. Let's go to the daily. We've recovered the previous low that we thought would be support, 126. Big deal support and resistance level from back here and way back when in 2016. So those lows could have been resistance and we've popped back above them. So oil, I think, is all set for a rally. When you look at a chart like this, if you don't know fibs or you don't know anything else, you would look for the previous high, because if we're in a downtrend, we make lower lows and lower highs. If we're going to reverse this downtrend in oil, we have to take out that previous high. We have to make a higher high, and then we have to make a higher low. So your first target is always going to be the previous swing high. This is why previous swing highs and previous swing lows are always dangerous. And if we look, that previous high lines up for the 20 moving average. So before I measure anything, that would say to me that's where we need to go and tackle if we're going to reverse the downtrend in oil. I will put a fib on now. I said all that. So I'm looking for a 38.2 fib. And the reason is oil loves a 38.2 fib and a 786. So from this high to this low, we're going to look and see where that 38.2 fib comes in. It's a little bit higher, so 37.47, but that would be where I'd be looking around there. So yeah, there's lots to like. Let's see where the 236 fib is, because that's going to be the important one. And that's going to be our first target. So 30, a retest of 30. So round number $30, that makes sense, doesn't it, for oil? Okay. So at 27.73, and we're looking for 30 next today in oil, and potentially 37 if we get a squeeze on in some of these markets. This fall in oil was ferocious, but bear market rallies can be completely fierce. They will make you think everything's okay again, even though it's not. And they can rally it just as hard as they fell. We've got a really good level here in Brent. The difference between Brent and WTI is it's just not the same. You know, the spread is coming in, and I do think that WTI is a much better long than Brent at the moment. Don't ask me why. What we really do need to see, though, for Brent to work is for gasoline to be rallying. Gasoline's at a really good 886 fib level that I wanted to see on the daily. This is American gasoline RBOB, RBOB. RB is the ticker futures. It's very hard for oil, US oil, to rally if gasoline is falling and vice versa. It's like an anchor, and so it stops it working. But what we can see, whenever you've got a nice bullish setup in oil, you really need RBOB to be with you. And we have made a really pretty nice bit of a bottom here. All the way down, look, from the 5th of March, you can see these hourly moving averages have been resistance in RBOB. Literally all the way. Every time we rallied back to them, we failed. And today, for the first time, we're above them. So that's the first sign, good sign. And we should at least get back to the 20 moving average. So American oil off the lows, dollar Canadian having a bit of a rally. You know, the other currencies, when you see that we should be looking for a reversal in, would be the ruble, because that's quite a petro currency as well. So the Russian ruble, we could be seeing a very sharp reversal in with this move in oil. And the other one is the Norwegian krona. Let's put the Norwegian krona up and see what's going on there. And we've got this ginormous, look at that reversal pattern in that one. So this is a trending market. See how on the hourly here in the krona, we've got underneath our hourly moving averages. If we get a couple of green candles that takes us back to this level and those moving averages, perfect sell setup in the krona and a nice, lovely long way to fall. Back down to 10, I think, and the daily 20 moving average. So some really cool 3-day, with this reversal in stocks and a little bit of bounce in Bitcoin and everything else, and everything easing a little bit, there's some very, very nice setups in FX. If you don't want to buy stocks, there are some very nice setups in FX.